Oh, you're not talking about me.
Well, I'm sure you don't want to listen to it.
But the push bars were
What's that?
the push bars.
Oh
though?
yeah, the push bars. See, we had a reason why we changed everything, huh?
See you tomorrow.
Okay,
Back
okay,
tomorrow,
great,
guys.
great.
See ya.
I'm just going up to the graveyard. Back
All right.
tomorrow.
Everything that we did had a reason. The small push bars, they were welded on the bumpers, but then when the bumpers on those cars aren't very strong,
Yeah.
and when it bumped into the sheriff car and stuff like that, it would roll forward and it would knock the nose out of it. Well, even back in the 80s, those Chrysler noses, they were getting hard to find. And since it's a three-piece, on the 68, we just put that nose in there on that 68 build. Headlights didn't have to work or anything. So we decided we'd go with the wider one, and it goes into the frame. So then you could hit that thing, and it didn't make any difference. You could really hit it, and very rarely we had to hit it hard enough where it actually went into the
eyepiece.
Right, that eyepiece. And then some of the other stuff that we made, it had the dark interior. Well, the reason it went to the tan interior, it was so that when the actors were in the car, they didn't have to use as much lighting, because you could hit it with some faraway light, and they would reflect more. So you had better quality of seeing the actors in the car without that darker interior. And then we went to, used to have the chrome moldings on them. Some of them did, some of them didn't, but bumping and banging, they'd always hang down, so we did away with all the chrome moldings on them.
Except for the roof trim, wasn't it?
Well, we used both of them. See, that roof trim, that was for the vinyl top cars. Most of the cars had vinyl top, but either one would be correct. Some of them, the bottom line was they were too cheap to fill the holes in. Okay, really, that's what they just left the chrome on.
All right.
And the other cars that had no chrome, which were the actual true non-vinyl top cars, they actually had a very good roof on them. The Chrysler, when they put the vinyl tops on those things, they never finished the roofs. So you had to do a lot of work when you took those vinyl tops off.
What was the story then about the numbers and stuff as well? The numbers and the lettering, wasn't that changed at some point?
That was pretty much the same. We did use, some of them were painted on, some of them were decaled. I think more of them were decaled. And then towards the end of the show, some of them were painted on. Most of them were decaled. The General Lee was always decaled.
All right.
That wasn't painted on. The flags, they were taped and painted on, but the stars were vinyl. Stars were vinyl on those, and they were always looking for stuff that was, inexpensive, on that. And then the other change we made is on the side marker lights. There were some of them that went by that we had out there that had the round one for the 68. So we decided we'd just do away with all the side marker lights. They weren't going to work anyway. So we did that. And then all the tires were tubed on all the cars. And that was just to keep the tire, on the wheel itself. So sometimes you'd pack it full of dirt or rocks and stuff, you wouldn't have a flat tire on it. And then on the sheriff cars, those were all paper decals. And they were kind of like a gold decal. Well, after about 2 or 3 weeks out there in the sun, they turned to silver. So they were looking a lot silver. So, but they didn't want to spend the money on the vinyl ones. So when
even the gold vinyl doesn't last that long out. The gold vinyls only last about a year outside. I mean, it would have lasted.
Yeah, but mine, the decals that we make up now, we use a good, usually 3M or a very good quality decal, and we haven't had any. I haven't had anybody say that we've had any fading with them. So what we did is we made them all that way, and I always try to do it as the best. I had a lot of the decals from the sheriff car. I still have some. I think I got about 3 or 4 sets where I could say Hazzard County and Sheriff.
Yeah.
I don't have any more of the stars left. I had some magnetic stars and whatever, but they just disappeared when we went to a show. Somebody else wanted them. But we make up the Sheriff Little decals, and we've got the colors for him. We've got the colors for the tow trucks. And then the tow truck, everybody goes, well, but it was a white, and it was pretty much the same color as the Sheriff car. But what they did is they aged everything. They sprayed it with this aging stuff, so it looked like it was dirty. And, you know, the guys' cars that make these cars now, I mean, they're just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And, you know, ours didn't get any, you know,
treatment
washing,
like
you know, fire hose, you know. Excuse me. But what we did is we never washed the cars with soap or anything like that. We just hose them off. It was dull, but the reason is that sun flares, in the camera, they would show up. So we'd used this dulling spray on the chrome and stuff. First unit did it a lot, you know.
Yeah.
We could live with some of our driving with the sun flares, but there was always like little reasons, you know.
You get crew reflected sometimes as well.
Yeah. I mean, if it's too shiny, I mean, you know, the guys' cars that do these tribute cars, I mean, they're just gorgeous. I mean, you know, ours would look like some junkyard dog, you know. But I mean, in my cars, they were just made to run, slide, and come to a stop.
Yeah.
They didn't have to run very far. They didn't have to run real fast. But they didn't get a whole lot of miles on them or anything else like that. But, you know, they worked. And anything that under the hood didn't need to be there, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
I mean, we took all the glass out, the headlights and things like that. We used to try to keep the windows in them, you know, rolled up. Coyotes and stuff. The guys used to eat, and when we had ribs or something like that, they just throw them in the back seat. Well, darn old coyotes crawling those things. They didn't smell too good the next morning. But I tell you, one other thing that we had a funny story. It was at Valencia Oaks. We had an episode where we had barrels of molasses in the back. So they brought them up to start the next show a couple of days later. And they parked them on the hill. And anyway, they didn't set the brake. Anyway, that night, the truck come down the hill a little bit of ways and bumped into one of the other bad guys' cars, and all the molasses come out. Well, those damn cows like that molasses. But the thing is the cows got in between all the cars, and, you know, cows' butts about that high.
Yeah.
About the same height as the opening in the window. You know, they'd back right up to those cars. There'd be old cow pies all over that thing. I mean, it was ridiculous. So, you know, bring the car out there. We just take a fire hose out there off the water truck and just hose them out. And what we did, because the carpet used to get kind of nasty and smelly and when it rained out there. So most of the time we just went ahead and pulled all the carpet out because the carpet wasn't any good, and we didn't need it. And most of the time they'd spray it black. Sometimes they didn't. You know, doors weren't supposed to open anyway.
Yeah.
So, but
Even though some did.
some did. They all did. None of them welded up, and there was never any horns, the Dixie horn, in any of the cars but the one. There was no sirens
You know, any of the cars.
in any of the sheriff car. Everything was dubbed in.